Everybody in the oh, there we are. Hey, everybody in the chat room and on live
So then I
watching.
said, I don't care if you are 8 years old. You tell the cop you were the one driving.
Man, been there, done that. I'm from Oregon.
Oh gosh.
Eight.
Well,
Gosh, I think it's
In
eight.
Oregon, I don't care if you are 8 years old. You tell the cop you were the one pumping the gas.
That's right. That's right. You were the one in Washington buying the medicinal stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Sorry if I offended anybody from Washington, Colorado, or other 50 states. Oh, drop my phone.
Oh gosh.
I need a little. The
It's too
expression,
much.
the opinions of the opinions in Geeksters are of their own. Do not reflect the podcast
Yeah.
community or
That's
its subsidiaries or anything. We need a little
all hate.
disclaimer.
All hate mail can be sent to Steve at SMD Computers.
That's right. Oh my goodness. All right. So I've got stuff to talk about today. I resurrected a printer from the grave, like Frankenstein, alive.
Really?
Yeah, it was a printer that died, and it's back.
Hmm.
Had to give the old one two, and by that means I held down two buttons, and I just randomly guessed, and it worked. After,
Oh, well, that's exciting.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, buddy, let's hit it.
All right. We can go record, and you ready with your Audacity then?
Go for it.
All right. I record in 3, 2, 1. Record. Test, test.
Check. Check, check, check.
Chickadee. Ooh. Tim's mic is hot.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Geeksters episode 124. It's Tim. It's Martin. It's the Geekster Show. Guys, this is a show about geeksters and geekery and anything geekific. I don't even know if that's a word. We've created some words on here, but I don't think I can make terrific into a geekster word. I don't know. It's worth a shot.
It's mad terrific.
Ooh, BT Dubs. This is going to be off the hook. I'm just trying. I'm trying real hard. It's not working. So, my name is Martin Obando. You guys know me. I'm going to introduce my co-host with the power, Tim Bowermeister.
Hey, man, I'm fully gruntled today.
Awesome. You know, it's been a good day here, too.
That's it.
I went out for coffee, had some talks, was able to just sit around today. I got a little bit of work done. I had an update that started to go wrong last night and then went right.
Oh, no.
So that was...
So,
well, it was okay. So I don't know if you have ever used the Act software.
I have no, myself no, but I am somewhat familiar with
So,
it.
okay, I don't use it myself either, but I have a client who uses it, and there was an update, and I was notified of this update last Thursday. So I said, sure, no problem. So Thursday night, I tried to update it, and it doesn't work well. I don't have a username and password. All right, so I get the username and password again on Friday. It doesn't work well. It just won't take the username and password. So then we try to do some stuff, and then over the weekend I try to get another username and password. It doesn't work. So last night I finally got the right username and password, and what it was I was missing because I tried it with one password username, it didn't work. Another username, and then then it was just a space. There was this username actually has a space in it, which that's kind of odd. I don't really, you usually don't find passwords or usernames with spaces in them.
Yeah, I mean, a space as a character in a password, it's unusual.
Well, or I mean, in a username either.
Oh, I see. Okay. Is this some kind of, is it accounting software? What is it? I'm trying to remember.
It's a database software.
Okay, all right.
It's like contacts, and it interfaces with Outlook, and it interfaces with QuickBooks, and so you can have one database in a business environment with all your contacts and client information and notes, and then it interfaces across the board. So you just have to update one spot, and it can go to QuickBooks, and it go to your Outlook and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So last night I go to update this client or this Act. I finally get it. I can log in now. Yay! I back up the password, or back up the database. I go to run it. Not enough space on the C drive.
Oh my.
Open up the C drive. It's a 40 gig hard drive. So it's
Oh,
it's a it's a
no.
2008 R2. It came with a 40 gig partition for the C drive. And then it had a out of a 500 gig hard drive. So the rest of it was for the D drive. Note to self and note to users: if you when you buy a server through whatever your choice of manufacturer are, and they do give you the option to partition out your OS drive, do that. That's fine, but make sure you make it big. Really, I've noticed that 40 gigs is not enough room. I've been running out of 40 gig space in 2008. 2012, I'm assuming, takes more, so at least go with the 80, and then you can adjust from there. But definitely don't get the small. Go ahead and go big. So, had to upload an application, and I've used what's the application I use? Sorry, long pause.
The application to do what?
This is it's a partition
Part. Okay.
manager.
Okay.
I can't type and click at the same time. It's it's Partition Magic actually. There it is. Partition Magic has a server edition, and this will do is you can go ahead and you can move partitions around, and then you hit apply, and it just does this thing in the background. The problem is that when it does it in the background, the server goes offline, and when I'm remoting into these servers, I have to wait. So about 2.5 hours later, and that's the scary part, is the server is offline. You can ping it from another server, but you don't have remote desktop to it. My screen's doesn't connect to it, and you just kind of wait. And it's that moment of I hope it reboots and hope it comes back online. So about 2 hours later, 2.5 hours
Right.
later, bing, it comes back online. Great. Now I have an 80 gig partition, shrunk out the other stuff. I go to do the update. Update does everything fine. No problems with that. And then I actually do a document and I screenshot as I'm doing updates, because then I hand that to the clients. And to this morning on each one of their machines, they had to update their local version of Act. And they just followed the screenshots. I had one gentleman who needed to do some backup for another database. One little hiccup there, no problem. And then I had one gentleman who called because he also ran out of room. For some reason, this is the reason what I run into is Act likes to you download Act, it does a full uninstaller, and it needs some enormous amount of room before it installs, and then it gets rid of all of it, gets rid of itself. But it needed, so my friend had, and I don't know how this works, if it's the temp folder or what. So this client had like 200 gigabytes available on his hard drive, and what happened is it said we still needed 300 and some megabytes of available space. We emptied his recycle bin, which had some old PST files and stuff, so there was like 2 gigs in there. We got rid of the recycle bin, and it ran just fine. But
Good.
why wouldn't they use the other 200 gigs that were available on his hard drive? But it worked. So those are the only 2 updates. Everybody else said great. The owner of the company, who he knows how to use computers, but he admittedly says he struggles. He said, "Thank you so much for the documentation, because it was screenshots and click next, click here, with all of these screenshots,"
Yeah.
and he was very pleased
Yeah.
with it. So,
Well, okay. And so what version of server was this?
this was a 2008 R2 server.
Okay. So, and well, let me ask you this. I mean, because starting with Vista, as I recall, I mean, built into Windows was a very capable method of resizing partitions. Is that the case also in server, or no?
I want to
Because
say,
because because I'll tell you what, I mean, like Partition Magic and Gpart and all those, I've I've always used those because I found them to be very convenient and easy. Now, but I mean, once they introduced that in the Vista, I mean, it was still somewhat limited. You still could not do certain things. However, generally, it would do what I would need to do as far as resizing partitions. And I was just curious, does it have that function within server or no?
well, I want
Because
to
I don't know.
say no, because I know in 2003 it does not.
Hmm.
So I want to say that it doesn't, or I wouldn't have had to use this application, because I've had to use this application before on another server to do the same thing to get more room on the C drive. Um, I have one 2012 server that maybe later on during the show, when you are talking, I can jump in and take a look at that one. But right now I'm looking at the 2008 R2 server. Actually, the server I was on last night, just to see if it does have that in its um, under the hard drive. What is it? The hard drive tools. So I'll continue on to that one.
Gotcha.
And
And that actually reminds me of another use for a tool that I've mentioned here before is that when you start that process in Windows of it resizing these partitions, the very first thing it wants to do is, query for the just the potential. What can it do? What can it do? And it goes through and starts analyzing the files and everything. And generally, what it's doing is it's looking for the where system folders are, files and such. So it's looking for where like the page file businesses and the recycle bin and all these other types of things that are generally hidden and take up a lot of space, and but you're really not aware of them. And so it might say, well, I can only do this much, and you're thinking, well, why is that? Because I see all this available that's free and whatever. But basically, it just needs enough room to shuffle those big things around. And I have found that I can get Windows to choose to I can get Windows to do what I want to do when sometimes it thinks it can't. And so I've mentioned Ultimate Defragmenter before, and that's from disktrix.com, DISKTRIX. I think it's the best defragmenter available ever. That's just my personal opinion. I've used it a million times, but one of the things I can do with it is that I can actually say, hey, I only want you to move these files to these places. And so generally I can move those things around in such a way that Windows is all of a sudden sees a lot more opportunity and will then be capable of maybe adjusting those partitions the way I want them to, where maybe originally it thought it could not. However, I still love the Gpart and the partition magic and all those the bootable disks. However, if Windows has a tool in it, sometimes it's and I've always found it to be quite capable. Sometimes it's nice to be able to work within Windows to get things done. So I just wanted to mention that. I'd forgotten that use for it, but yeah,
Right.
interesting.
Yeah.
But,
Here's what I run into. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that a 40 gig partition is that's awful, especially when you have, and I've complained about it before. We have applications that by default they want it to store large data folders in or around their program folder under program files. I understand that software they have to code it in such a way that it stores it to the C drive, because generally that's the way most systems are set up. However, we usually build our own systems just because we want to make things the way we want them. It's no longer a way of saving money like it used to be. But it makes so much sense to have a C partition with just your system files on, all your data folders on a different partition, because it makes reinstalling so much easier.
Yeah.
So that's what we do, but then we end up, getting in trouble because you get, things like, Chrome installs in a weird place, and well, then again, I mean, Chrome, that's in an app folder. So if you have your document settings move to the data partition, that's different. But I'm trying to think of what some of the others are. I know I've gotten in trouble with the. Well, I mean, it's just customers' computers actually when they call and they have a partition that's empty, a huge bit of data space, but they're constantly being harangued about being out of space. And so, these programs, they can store the stuff wherever they want, but at the same time, they should make it easy to move their data folders wherever you actually want them, if you do, choose to have them elsewhere. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm in the server, and I realized. So yes, 2008 R2 does have under the disk management. You can move and shrink and resize partitions. In Dell's though, this is what I'm finding in Dell's. So I have the recovery partition is 3 gigs,
Yeah.
and then right next to that I have the C drive, which is whatever space, and then there's this little bit of unallocated space. It's less than a gig, or unallocated space, and then I have the D drive, and then I have some more unallocated space at the other side. If you shrink in Windows, if you shrink a partition, it grabs it from the back, and I want it from the front.
Right.
And so that's why I needed a third-party tool. I guess I could. I guess I could move the unallocated space. You know what I mean? I guess I could shrink one, grab the unallocated space that sits in between that, make that bigger, and then turn around and then grab the C drive and do all that. Partition Magic, I just move everything around
Yeah.
and does what it does, and I hit apply and it goes and it goes. So it
Yeah.
sounds like yes, there are free spaces. Like there's some space, there's some unallocated space at the very end of this hard drive that's just sitting there. I could grab that and throw that on behind the D drive, and it would be fine. But I don't think there's a very easy way to go
No.
ahead and say I need data from the front of D, keep the unallocated space the same because apparently it's there for some reason, and then I just need to shift everything over. And I think Windows doesn't make that very easy.
Right, and I think that was the limitation that I referred to earlier. One of the limitations it has is that it'll gladly do something in one direction, but not the other or both. And so that's where the third-party partition managers come in real handy.
Yeah, yeah. So so I got that done last night, but it was, it turned out to be I wanted to go to sleep. I wasn't feeling very good yesterday, and, I said I'm going to go to bed early, and early turned into 12:30,
Yeah.
which isn't early. Early for me was going to be, I was going to hope to go to bed about like 9:30. But it is what it is. So
But it worked.
it works.
So
It's up and running, and now
so
I have
it could have been really late.
right. And well, yes, it could have been or really early.
Yeah.
But now it's two birds with one stone. I was able to get the update done, and I knew they were running out of drive on this. I knew they were running out of hard drive space on the C drive. I was just I was babying it along, getting a couple gigs here, and then deleting, like the hibernation files of this, and then I don't know why it created a hibernation file at one time. Somebody must have put it in hibernate mode on a server, and kind of babying it along. And then it was just like, well, okay, I have to get this other project done. It requires getting this thing done, so let's just do it all. Now they have 40 gigs of free space, and their update, and it's better. It's another thing off my to-do list that I don't have to worry about.
That's a really unfortunate setting on a server for it to hibernate.
Yes, it had a hibernation file, and I was like, all right.
Yeah, I want this to go to sleep and not be able to do anything with it remote. No, don't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
That seems bizarre to me.
Yeah, Mitch just joined us in the chat room. Hey, Mitch, it's good to see you. Mitch was unable to make it. He had a little bit of a flood in his home, and as everybody, if you don't know where he broadcasts from, when you see him, it's kind of in one of the lower levels. And luckily, all of his computers were offline, but he had quite a bit of water damage, and so they have to get it all dried out. And this happened earlier this week or late last week. It just, man, when he said that his house got flooded, and that was not good. Not good at all. Mitch, you're supposed to power wash the outside of the home. I'm just saying.
Oh boy, he's a real tough guy when you're not on, huh, Mitch? Why don't you come on here and let him
I know.
have it?
Sorry, Mitch. All right.
Well, remember, Mitch, God promised he wouldn't destroy the world with a flood again. It'll be fire. So that's what you need to look out for. Water's okay.
There you go. Fire. Reminds me of those Geico commercials. All right. So today, the big news from today. It doesn't matter if NSA and the whole issue with net neutrality was going on today. No. That doesn't matter. Nothing else matters.
Right.
Weird Al released his new album today.
There
So
you go.
I've been geeking out on the Weird Al album. It's called Mandatory Fun. Been a big Weird Al fan. If you go to weirdal.com, you can go in there, and every day, starting yesterday to today, he's been releasing videos. Yesterday was a parody of Happy by Will Ferrell, and today it was called Tacky, and today's one called Grammar Words. Word Crimes, which is a parody of Blurred Lines, and it's pretty funny. So go check it out. If you're a big Weird Al fan, check it out. If you don't, I don't even know why you're listening to us.
Well, you know what I've found with Weird Al is that first of all, this guy has had some staying power. I mean, he really has. He's never been like at the penultimate of stardom, but he's maintained. And I mean, this guy, his first album came out, I think, 79 maybe. I've actually discovered that when I first started listening to the guy, I was too young to know any of the songs that he was parodying, and I'm now too old to know any of the songs that he's making parodies of. I've literally lived like an entire I'm into like a Lifetime, a Weird Al Lifetime, and and he's just kept going. So he some of his stuff I've always found uneven. It's always like, yeah, some of it's great, some of it's just kind of okay.
Yeah.
But you just can't go wrong with the polka compilation song. Every album usually has a polka compilation song, right? Where
Oh yeah.
he just takes you know bits of popular songs from the last year or so and puts them to polka music, and that's always a winner, always.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fantastic.
I agree. I agree. Um, we had there was a couple of things I wanted to mention last week that I couldn't remember, and so this week it was I kind of I was like, oh, that's I need to write those down. So a couple of things that happened to me. I guess it would have been a couple weeks ago. I think it was before the 4th of July. Is that I use on my Linux box? I use a program, and you can do it with other programs, but I use a Google syncing program because I use Google Docs, and it's called InSync, INSYNC. I think I've talked about it before, but it does basically the Google Drive sync locally to my machine because there's not a native Google app program yet. There's other ones that have come out, but this one seems to work really well. You pay a flat fee per account, and you can sync multiple accounts. So I have multiple accounts of Google syncing, and one of them is my business account. And I use Google Forms, and if you've never used Google Forms, it's a great way to go ahead and create a way to submit data, and it puts it in an Excel spreadsheet. So I use it for mileage, for my time card, for deposits, withdrawals, etc. And the reason I do that is because then I put them in a Google Doc that's locked. My bookkeeper then grabs that data, puts it into QuickBooks, and does all my bookkeeping with it. I needed to reload my machine a while ago. So when I reloaded my machine, I set up InSync, and then it started to download and basically re-download all my data because and in the like I said in the forms you have the form itself, and then you have the database that it attaches to, and there's some magic voodoo that happens between the two. And if you've ever worked with a database before and stuff, there's a linking process, and there's usually some kind of a security key that goes between the linking. And if you break the key, then you've broken the link, and then it's all messed up. And so a lot of times if you're syncing something, you have your local copy and then you have your sync copy. You'll break the link to go do something, you'll want to recreate it, and then you think, well, I'll just take my local copy and I'll put it back in where it used to be, like Dropbox, say, and then now I'll save bandwidth by putting my local copy in there, and then it syncs and says, oh, I don't need to sync everything off the cloud because I already see it local. That doesn't work in Google Docs. It doesn't work at all, especially when there's forms involved. It will work for the docs, but it will not work for forms. So out of my genius, I said, not a problem. I'm going to throw my forms in there, and then it starts to download it. And now wait, now I'm getting versioning. I'm getting copied 1, copy 2. Oh, I don't need copy 2. I delete copy 2. That was the original copy. And anyways, all my forms are hosed. So I thought, well, this really stinks. But I can get to the data. I just don't have the way of doing any forms. I was lucky I was able to export all my data. It was the end of the month, so we just kind of let it ride. I remember that. So yeah, it was a while ago. Talked to my accountant and said, here, I'm just going to give you the Excel spreadsheet because I could export it, give it to her. She could do everything she needs to do to it while I rebuild the forms. So I go to rebuild the forms, and they've made it a lot better. The one of the things that I have is I have a drop-down list of all my clients, and being my I like everything in alphabetical order. And so what would happen is I'd have 30 or so in alphabetical order, and then it would just be a hodgepodge as I brought new clients on. Now what you can do is you can actually put out your data in and then move the cells up and down. You can rearrange them, so that's pretty nice. And you can highlight. So I took all my clients, I put them all in a spreadsheet just so I could have them in alphabetical order, and I was going to just basically have to copy paste. Well, what they don't tell you is you can select all, go into the first cell, right-click, paste, and it just fills it all in for you in Google Docs.
Oh, nice.
Saved. That was the biggest headache and heartache that I was going to have to deal with, was putting in all like 150 of my clients again, one by one, and not just on one spreadsheet, because I use them for my withdrawals, and I use them for my deposits, and I use them for my time card. So there's 3 sheets that I have to do that too. That was, that's a whole lot of data.
Yeah.
Of copying and pasting, and nope, right-click paste. So if you've never used Google Forms before and you're looking for an easy way to take a survey, to just put some data in a spreadsheet, check out the new version of Google Docs Forms. They're pretty slick. They've done quite a bit of stuff to it now.
Um, hey, in the Google Apps tip of the day, you kind of made me think of this. I'll throw this one out too. It's something I discovered that maybe everybody knows this, and I just happened to discover it. But if you use Hangouts at all in the Hangout app, it doesn't take long for it to be unmanageable as far as scrolling back and finding posts or information or links or something that someone has posted, and it can really be difficult. So it doesn't matter how many Hangouts you have, how old they are. You can go into your Gmail, and you can search your Hangouts from Gmail the same way you would search your Gmail, but it'll search your Hangouts as well, and so you can locate information that way, and that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Now the one thing that I have with that is that I don't use Gmail natively. I use it through Thunderbird.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I can't just open up Gmail and just search for it.
Right. It's very easy, and instead, often I'm like, okay, well, I know somebody posted this piece of information that I want, 10 days ago, but you start scrolling and you scroll and you scroll, and it only loads, I think, maybe seven posts at a time, and it's like, oh my gosh, it still take forever. And so it was fantastic when I found that. And not only that, but once you discover something like that, and then you find what you need, then you're like, I wonder what else I can find. So you start playing around with it, and it's amazing. I mean, the thing was going back to the beginning of my Hangouts when I was using it well over a year ago, and I was finding all kinds of interesting things I'd forgotten about.
Oh, that's cool. Is there a site or anything that talks about that?
Yeah, it's right here. It's podnuts.com, the Geeksters. We're talking about it right now. I would imagine that somewhere
I'm going to tweet that.
Somewhere there is some, somewhere explain that. But I just happened to discover. I just went searching in my Gmail for something else, and I was like, oh, well, look at this. I'm getting my Hangout. I'm getting Hangout results, and I'm like, wow. So I searched for that thing, and sure enough, it very quickly found exactly what I needed. So it was a link that somebody had provided. So.
I found it.
Yeah.
I found a support. It says your Hangout history in Gmail, and it tells you how to do it. And so it'll be in the chat as well.
There you go. Ta-da.
Ta-da. So speaking of Google tips, I have one, and this one kind of floored me. I was a little uneasy about this one because it just shows kind of where we are as far as what our phones are doing and kind of the lack of privacy. So if you go to maps.google.com, if you're signed into your Gmail account that this is for Android phones, that your Android phone is attached to, okay? Then go to maps.google.com/location history. It will tell you where you've been, and it will show you where you've been, and you can go back days, and it has a timeline and a scroll bar on the bottom, and it starts at like 2 a.m. Let me pull it up. So maps.google.com/location history. So Tim, if you want to jump there as well, like I said, be signed into your account that you use. So today, I'm looking at the 15th, and it starts at midnight. And it has a drag bar, and right about 8 a.m. it kind of looks like so you have time across the bottom and then distance up vertically. Okay, time horizontally, distance vertically, and then the distance then starts to move up and down as you travel. Okay, so if I use the scroll bar and at 2 a.m. nothing happened, 4 a.m. nothing happened, 6 a.m. nothing happened. It looks like my phone's moving around, and it's probably because, and it will actually move around when you're at home. So if I'm up and I'm walking around the house with my phone, it shows movement. And then it shows me at 8 a.m. what I did, and it shows me at 8 a.m. I went to, on the map, it draws a red line, shows me where I went, and then I can show, then it shows me, okay, I followed this route, and it actually will follow you on the street maps and show you time, where you've been, and then back and forth. It shows I was at a coffee shop for a while, moving around, and so it shows my little red dot kind of jiggling in the same location. And then right about 10 o'clock, it shows me I came down this certain street and then back. Some of it is a little particular, Some of it knows exactly where you've gone. It'll follow the streets, and the other ones it won't. So today, I went to a coffee shop, had a meeting. I came back down, almost got all the way home, and then I remembered, oh wait, I need to go buy tickets for a movie tonight. I turned around, and it shows my red map, my dot going, getting close to my home, and then 180ing and going back the other direction. And I was like, what did I do? Well, so then I go, okay, well, let's look at, Monday, June 30th. And all of a sudden, it shows this huge, big, giant map of the city, and I can start and go, oh, okay, 8 a.m., I left, I went up, I went to the freeway, and then I was in downtown for a while, and then I shot back down to this other location, which I know that's one of my clients, and then I shot back to the freeway, and, and then I go back home. And then later on, it shows me going back up. Well, I had a baseball game that night, or softball game. So this is kind of, like I said, it's kind of cool because you can go, oh, what did I do on that day, and where did I go? But on the other hand, your phone's watching you. Your phone is tracking your location history, and you can go back in time and see where you've been. I don't know how long it goes back. June 2nd apparently works quite well. April 1st, yep, April 1st is still showing some stuff. So you can go in and delete all your history. You can show your timestamps, and you can look at that. But Google.com or maps.google.com/location history, it's kind of weird. It's a little, like I said, it's cool, but on the other hand, it's a little Big Brother-ish.
Now, I actually have no location history when I go there, but I would assume it's because I have that feature disabled on the phone.
Oh, okay.
And
I didn't know I had it enabled.
Yeah, I think that's something that it asks you, but I figured it at some point, but I'm sure that I disabled thinking that felt kind of Big Brother-ish. It's like, I know where I am. I don't need it to remind me or help me. And this thing 2 weeks later, it's like, I don't know, actually, that might be good because I can't remember where I've been.
So I don't know if it would work well for, for ingressing. It says that I can show 30 days, and I don't know what that looks like. It's still working, but you can show a day at a time in your time map, but it looks like you can show 30 days. Yeah, so here it is. I can show from it's pretty cool. You can show a whole month view, and it'll do the same thing. So you can scroll along the bottom in time and watch what you've done in the whole month, and it actually is kind of cool because in March, and then all of a sudden it shows me going to, this is in 2014, I went somewhere. Looks like I must have gone over to Columbus. Oh no, I was in Chicago. I did something. Oh no, I was going to OLF. So it shows me, my map shows me going to Chicago, to Boston, back to San Francisco, back to Oregon. Anyways, it's kind of freaky, but kind of cool at the same time.
That's cool. I didn't realize that that information was you could access like that, and that it's laid out on a map. That's very cool.
Yeah.
What's the application? What do you do with that? I mean, it's more than, I mean, to me it's a curiosity, but what's a practical application for that? What do you think? Any ideas kind of
knowing that data?
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you wanted to monitor somebody.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. It's useful monitoring somebody else, but why is it useful? How is it useful to me? I'm thinking.
Well, if you don't know, so as a business owner, I don't know, I don't remember what I did yesterday, but I can go, oh, okay, I went to this location, I went over here, then may spring some ideas. I think you can use it for mileage. So if you forget how far you drove the other day, you can at least get a ballpoint and then remap it out with Google Maps and get mileage.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe if you have...
You know what I'd use it for? I'd use it for an alibi.
Well, you'd have to get rid of your phone. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was thinking you'd use it for an alibi for something you did, not to protect yourself from false accusation. You could take your phone and strap it to your dog, like they did in Police Academy, or the flashlight.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
And then just let your dog go run.
I just throw it in a boxcar going past.
Yeah, my alibi says I was on my way to Kalamazoo.
Yeah, that's right. I was in Detroit rail yards. I don't know why, but I was.
Yes, I was there for 4 hours. Thank you very much.
Apparently, I'm still there.
Exactly. I'm not here right now.
I am not the Tim you are looking for.
You are the Tim.
I'm one of them.
You're one of them. So
Anyway.
what have you been up to? What is your fiscal week?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of more of the same. I'll tell you what. This is actually kind of a this is a good opportunity. I'd like to kind of just comment on some software that we've reviewed before, um, because I'm finding them quite handy. As always, ADW Cleaner, awesome.
Hmm.
Get that from Bleeping Computer, as well as Junkware Removal Tool, JRT. Um, those two work very well hand in hand, cleaning up the systems. A lot of the malware that we see now is really it, it has the same effect as malware, but it's really just it's more like death by a thousand paper cuts, and it's all self-inflicted with toolbars and all these other ridiculous things. I know that that's what I see a lot, and so um, it's I'll admit I see a lot more of that than proper malware, which just suits me. I mean, it's I feel better about removing stuff that's self-inflicted as opposed to somebody just got tricked or really taken advantage of. And it's fairly easy to remove. Usually using those two programs, you can get out most of it, and running Malwarebytes tends to clean up the rest of it. So, um, yeah, I'm liking that. There was something that I think maybe Mitch brought it. I don't remember. You tell me. But do you remember Unchecky?
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
Right. Was that you or was that him?
I think I may have done it, but so when I was at my in-laws' house,
I
Fourth of
still love
July.
it. Yeah.
Well, what happens with her is I was there for the 4th of July, and then I came back to pick up my kids, last week, last Friday. What's happening is I'll clean out her computer, and then it'll get infected again. And all she's doing is she's playing games. Well, she's going to this one website and she's just downloading games. And I think the games themselves are not harmful. What's happening is the games are installing junk with it.
Right.
And she's just hitting next, 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 next. And I thought this would be a great time to put in Unchecky.
Yeah.
Because it needs to, that would just keep her from, having to uncheck anything and just do it automatically for her, because she doesn't need McAfee system scan and
Right.
whatever.
Ask toolbar.
Yeah, and rate this site.com. Yeah, so unchecky.com. Thank you, that in the chat. It rhymed. It took me for a loop. But yeah, unchecky.
Oh, it didn't put in the. Okay, I see. Yeah, somehow it registered me as that. Anyway.
Oh, you're that.
Yeah, I'm that.
Oh, thank you, that. Well, that's what.
There was more. Apparently, it didn't like spaces, but I'm that today. I'm that. Sometimes I'm this. Sometimes I'm that.
I'm glad I didn't say anything out loud. I'm like, who chooses a dumb name like that? Literally. Oh, it's hey Tim. How's it
I hate
go?
computers. I really
didn't even
do.
know you were there.
Oh, I truly hate computers. Yeah, today I am that. So yeah, unchecky. But it's great. It's great, isn't it?
I'm still getting a kick out of that.
It's so stupid. I know. I'm stupid.
No, I just think it's funny because I didn't know it was you.
No, it's me. You can tell if something screwed up somehow. I'm like I should be pointed at first. I should be questioned first. So, but the thing about Unchecky is that it was kind of like, first of all, it's horrible that we're at a point in this world that we actually need such a thing. But the second thing is that it's kind of like it's so specific. It's such a specific thing, and it's not something that you require very often. Do I really want to install this because it's something I'm going to forget about? And if something bad happens with it, I will find that things are broken and I won't know why, and I'll have trouble tracing back to this because I forgot about it. But you know what? Every time there's a flash install, whatever, upgrade, any of these things, I'm like, well, look at that. All those boxes are unchecked. And then I'm like, oh, that's right. I got Unchecky. And so it's been, I don't know how long ago that was, but I mean, it's still a relevant program. It's still working. I still love it. I don't install it on customers' computers or anything like that, but I use it on my own machines and I love it. It's great.
I'm gonna have to install it and try it out because I don't have it installed, but I'm installing my mother-in-law's system.
Yeah.
I mean,
And there's no better test bed to experiment with than on your mother-in-law's machine.
Well, I mean, she
Yeah,
doesn't
right.
do. She's not out to do harm. She's not going to sites. She plays games, and they're
Yeah.
flash-based games, and 90% of the flash-based games have stuff that unchecky would be very useful. Because I do. I mean, she's running the full version of Malwarebytes. She's running um, Crypto Prevent. She's running Microsoft Security Essentials. So she's up to date and she's secure. I've never seen a virus on her computer. She's just getting all of this garbage.
Okay, so I'm seeing where there's been some bad press. Now, I searched around a little bit for it. I didn't see anything, but chat room says that we do have a fellow podcaster that's not using it anymore. So I'll have to delve into that and see why. I'm curious.
Yeah, I'll maybe write him an email. And he's talking about Mike Smith from the Mike Tech Show,
Yeah,
which is a great show. Great show.
good guy and a great show.
I
So
don't know why he hasn't come up on my podcast lately. I gotta go back and figure out what happened with that because he used to be on. I know it was a holiday season, so I don't know. I don't know. I'll figure it out. It's not time to do it now, though.
you guys weren't feuding.
No, I no. Why would
There
I
was
have a feud with
no tiff involved.
like the Jets and the Sharks on West Side Story?
Sharks.
Is it the Sharks? Sharks? Jets and the Cats? Jets and the I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
I don't know. So
Hmm.
hmm,
There was
I
okay, and so those were some things that I wanted to bring up, and the other thing really was that I'm kind of somewhat actively searching out a new remote desktop software solution. I still have to log me in, which it's great. I love it. It works, but it's become prohibitively expensive for what I'm using it for. And so I on a lark, after doing some searching, I tried a product called AnyDesk. Have we talked about that here before?
we haven't we haven't. I'm a fan of Screen Connect,
Oh, that's right. And
but that
so
doesn't
I'm
mean I'm not we're up to using something else.
yeah, I'm still and like I said, my search isn't as active as it probably should be, but I did try this out just for kicks, and it's it's interesting. First of all, it's still in beta, and so um, it's free at this point. It will eventually be a paid program, but um, one of the most interesting things about it is that it's so small. I mean, the download is just over a meg,
Oh my goodness.
and yeah, and really the way they kind of sell it is that some of the market actually shows like a handful of three and a half inch floppy disks, saying here's your download, and it goes on to say you wouldn't install it off floppies, but hey, you could if you wanted to, and so it's extremely small, and you can you can run it as a portable app. Wait a minute, I'm pretty sure you can run it as a portable app. Let me say that, uh, uh, but it can be used and run as a one-time thing. You can run it, install it as so that it's always available on the remote machine. So, and you can set it up with a password. And what's different about Log Me In and some of the others where it uses the same credentials as Windows has for the user accounts. You actually set up a separate um, name for the computer and password. And so once those are entered, you have access to the welcome screen, and from there you then enter the Windows credentials to get you into the account that you want. And so, yeah, it's something a little bit different, but it's very small, lightweight. It runs well. I thought that it was fantastic. But having said that, it is a beta. It is a beta program. It will eventually cost something, and it is not feature rich in a lot of ways. And so if you're used to having reboot options, well, those aren't available. And so, which actually, and what I did to get around that, I don't like clicking through the start menu to reboot a machine because invariably I will click shut down accidentally at least once, and then where you at. So I just created shortcuts on the desktop for reboot and to I made the reboot like in 15 seconds, and then I created a second shortcut to cancel that reboot in case I accidentally clicked. And so that made it very easy for for doing that. And but it did offer support for uh, multiple screens. And so if you're logging into a machine that has multiple screens, you actually could click between the two. It's not obvious immediately how you do that, but that is available. And so uh, but it had all the basic stuff. You could remote in, you could transfer the sound to the local computer that you're on. You could copy files from the remote machine to your local machine. And, just I really found it was an interesting product, and so I thought I would throw that one out there. I don't know that in the long run it will serve me, but I did find it and felt that if you need something to pinch, it's free, it's easy, it's cheap, price is right. It's worth looking into right now. Any
Yeah,
desk.
yeah. I was just looking at it actually, and it says right now it says AnyDesk is beta only, like you said, and it supports XP 7 and 8. And it said they are working for versions of Apple iPad from iPad Air to iPad Mini Retina, Apple Mac OS X from 10.9 Mavericks, Linux Debian-based distros, and tablets from KitKat on. So it looks like they are, wanted to release something, get the word out, and from here they're going to go ahead and be making this a better product.
Yeah, and I kind of got the impression that this was a group of folks that they weren't continually adding to and attempting to improve a legacy product. This is something that they said, okay, well, we wanted to do this, and starting from where we're at right now in time, how would we do it? And so they built it with that, and so yeah, I thought it was great.
It does look like if you go to their website, they do have a you can go order it, and I don't know the conversion rates, but it looks like they have a free version, which is going to be free all the time. They're going to have a light version, which is going to cost right about 200. It says 290. I think those are euros. Excuse me. 290 euros, or maybe those are euros. 290 euros for a pay and forget is what it's called, or 60 euros charged yearly. It's a flex plan, and they're going to have a professional version, which will be at 750 for the pay and forget, or 180 a year for the flex plan. Now the light version allows you 3 simultaneous connections. So that right there at whatever 290 is in what the conversion is. I don't know what the conversion is. Actually, I can tell you right now. $393, right around there. So about $394 will be your light version when it does come available, and that's US dollars. So, but if you want to pay the higher one, it does have unlimited simultaneous connection. So if you are in a major business environment, you can have a lot of people involved in a lot of different projects at the same time. So yeah, this looks like it's going to be. It looks like this is going to give a lot of the other commercial ones that are out there a run for their money.
Well, it's another option, and I'm interested to see where it goes from here. But like I said, for just trying it out once, I felt that it was adequate, and
Yeah.
but not feature rich, and you were missing some things. But it's just so darn small. And
1.1 meg is the download.
the install is just lightning quick, and it's ready to go.
Yeah, keep on that one, Tim, because it is cross-platform. So that's gonna, that right there is opening up to a whole new subsection of people that things
Yeah.
like TeamViewer and LogMeIn won't support. They Mac and Windows, yeah, but they don't help support Linux. I don't know. I think they have Android apps. So cool. I came across a question, and I was just roaming around, and I came across this question, and I thought this would be a great one to ask to bring it to Geeksters. The question is if the internet is free, why do I have to pay for domain names? And I thought that's a great question. I do web hosting. I have a registrar that I go through, so I understand how domain names work, and I understand the process of bringing up a website and getting it online. But I've never really stopped to say, but if I'm not having to pay for the internet, then why do I have to pay for domain names? It's not as if you can equate that to vehicles. You have to pay for maintenance on a vehicle, yes, but you also have to pay road tax as well. And we may not pay it directly, depending on whether we rent or buy a home. depending on where you live. But gas taxes should go to some of the roads. So we do pay for that, and so it's not like a road; it's the internet. There's not an internet tax yet, so I thought I would bring this. I thought this was a great question, and I thought I'll bring this to Geeksters. So there's four parts that go into domains. There's the registry, the registrars, the registrant, and then ICANN. So we'll start from the top there. The registry is the entity that manages what are called TLDs. You sometimes hear them. They're top level domains. They're the .coms and the .nets and the .orgs. They're the top level ones, right? And registries need to be accredited by ICANN in order to sell the names. Okay, so sell domain names. A top level. So somebody who can sell those are somebody like GoDaddy, VeriSign, Network Solutions. Okay, they are what are called. Then they are the registrars. Okay, so the registrars sell some of the top level registries. Okay, that's where they're due. So GoDaddy is a registrar that can sell multiple domains. Okay, and we've all bought. If you work with GoDaddy or Network Solutions, you're not stuck with just having to buy .com. You can buy org, net, biz, etc. Okay. Then there's a registrant, and that is who you are. That's me. I'm the registrant. I go to my registrar who sells stuff from ICANN's registry. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's ICANN, and they are they're kind of the body that manages everything. So when you register a domain name, a major portion of the domain name fee, whether it's $10, whether it's $20, whatever the cost is, that goes to the registrar, like GoDaddy, Network Solutions, stuff like that. And then a very small amount of the portion is paid to the registry, which would be, like VeriSign and stuff. And then some of it then also goes to ICANN for managing everything. So everybody kind of gets a piece of the pie, and that's why it does cost some. And then the question is as well, why does then GoDaddy charge me $10 a month or $10 a year for internet for domain names, where something like Enom charges you $29.95 a year? Well, that could be a couple things. That could be based on their business model as well. Enom, which is a company I've used for many years, they're a little higher, but they don't host at all. They've started in the last couple of years, but originally they did not do any hosting, so they would just sell you the domain name, but they would give you unfettered access to anything you wanted to change on that. Okay, so you paid a little bit more for a lot of that flexibility. I've come into situations where other providers will sell you a domain name for really cheap. Buy martinobando.com for $7.95. Oh, that's great. I want to now host martinobando.com on my own service. Oh, to change the DNS entries to make sure you can point it to where you want to point it to, that's $10. And then to do this other thing, that's another $10. So they will give you a really cheap domain name on the hopes that they're going to make the money back by having you host with them, where somebody like Enom doesn't. They just say $30, do what you want with it. We're just going to sell you the domain name. You can host with us if you want, and they will give you a discount then if you host. But I don't host with my registrar. I have two completely separate things. But I end up paying a little bit more because I want the flexibility of being able to move my sites from host to host without having to worry about the nickel and diming me on the back end for the registrar. So that's just a good question I came across, and I thought I would throw it out to you, to people here who do some web hosting, but then there's a lot of people who don't do web hosting, and they kind of, where does that money go then?
That's it.
There it is. It's pretty simple. It's a business. Everybody's got to take a piece of it, but a majority of the money goes to your registrar, GoDaddy, Enom, Network Solutions, etc. Ta-da!
Well, like anything, it takes infrastructure, and it takes money to make things happen. Why does it cost so much to get this thing that only costs pennies. Well, I mean, there's a lot before, during, and after that to get it to your hands, and somebody somebody has to do that stuff, and so that maybe this isn't the best example of that, but it not even things that are free, it still takes money to get them into your hands, and so um, okay, how about Linux this and that? Sure, you can download them for free, but if you want one shipped to you, well, it costs a few bucks. Well, why does it cost money for something that's free? Well, it's not free now. Somebody had to actually burn it to the disk. It costs money to ship it to you, right? And so you're not paying for the things of itself so much as what it took to actually get it in your hands. There is a reasonable amount to pay for a Linux distro shipped to your house, right? I mean, some folks try and take advantage of that, but no, I mean, actually taking care of the actual delivery and making the thing and getting it to you, I mean, that's worth something.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, things aren't free. Sometimes if things are free, it's too good.
There you go.
Sometimes. Hugs are free, and they're great.
Hugs are free, but if you want me to come to your house and give you one, it's going to cost you.
That's big money. I don't have that kind of money.
And that's all about the shipping and handling.
That's all about the shipping and handling.
That's it.
All right, to get off an uncomfortable subject. A couple weeks ago, I had
Did I make you uncomfortable?
No, not at all. I'll give you a hug.
Oh, I'd hug you back.
All right.
All right. We'll meet in Iowa somewhere.
There we go.
Look in the middle.
Like Columbus.
Well, that's not.
I know Columbus isn't in Iowa either.
Okay, now I'm confused. All right, well, just show me on your Google Maps where you were.
Okay. Okay. A couple weeks ago, I ended up having, and I think I mentioned it here, but a client called me up. They had done an update to their printer. It was an HP, and then it just sat in an initializing loop. It would turn on, say initializing, and then reboot. Turn on, initializing, reboot. It's a multifunction printer. It was a mid-range printer, so it was one of the between $400 and $500 printer.
One of them effing printers.
Yeah. And I've had great luck with Brother lately. This was an HP. No worries. So she calls me up, and this is in Albany, and from my house, Albany is an hour and a half one way by car, going just a tiny bit over the speed limit. So
just a tiny bit.
I got to put it out there so if I was to go the speed limit, it would probably take me a little more than an hour and a half.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
And she calls me up and says, "This is what's happening. I have to print some stuff, and I have to print some stuff today. It's a apartment complex. They're having new people come in. They've got an inch and a half thick of papers that everybody has to sign. When you go to apartment complex, and she needed a printer. So I said, well, okay. So I got a hold of the boss of the company. We need to get a printer. They said, just buy a new one, get it down there, set it up. So I leave my house, go across the street to Office Depot, and then take off down to Albany. And I'm there. I take the other printer, unhook it, put the new printer in, load the drivers, and she's up and running in 25 minutes, and I'm out the door, and I'm back home an hour and a half later. So I think I'm gonna worry about this printer later. And today was that day later. So I brought it up to my office, put it up on the bench, turn it on. Sure enough, it sits in initializing. So I go do some research online, and it says if you're going to do any kind of updates, and this would have been a firmware update, to make sure that you're plugged in via USB, because if there's any network interference or connection loss, then basically you just the update just crashes, and that's what happened. So I went online and looked at the forums, and there was about 15 people asking the forum, hey, this is the problem. And now what HP was doing is they were saying, oh, not a problem, we can tell you how to fix it, check your personal message. They weren't telling you how to fix it on the forum. So I had to sign up for an HP account. I then had to log in. I then had to say, hey, me too. Could you help me? And they never got back to me. So in the meantime, I thought, I know there has to be, just like every other printer, there has to be some kind of a secret combination judo hand cramping configuration you have to do. And I found it. And I reset the printer. So on this HP, it was just the two bottom right-hand corner ones. One's the X and one's a I don't know, some sheet feed something pay button. Held them down, turned it on, and thought, I'll just sit here for a while. And sure enough, it said initializing, and then it didn't reboot, and all of a sudden the screen came up. That was the time, the date, and everything. So I quickly reset the whole printer, got into the firmware. You can a lot of times you can go into these printers and just do a system reset. Quickly just did a system reset. Went ahead then downloaded the update to my Windows box. Ran an update. It said it didn't need an update, so it's back up and running. I'm going to take it back to the office tomorrow, and they're going to use it as a spare and just deploy it to other people. But if you're going to do any kind of firmware update on printers, I very rarely do firmware updates on printers. I know you should. I know that there are vulnerabilities in printers because they are just another device on your network, and people can have hacked them to be able to use them as devices to get into your system. But I find that printer firmware updates break more than they do fix. At least that's my experience.
It feels like a BIOS update to me that it seems really worthwhile if you know that it's going to solve an issue that's ongoing or is very likely to occur. If everything's kind of humming along happy, it would have to be a monster exploit and very likely for me to upgrade. Because it's kind of like the odds of it doing something good seems small as opposed to the risk you're running by doing it. And this was something the customer did, right?
Right. But
so that's probably going to go bad.
Well, we have customers, and they'll call us up and they'll say, I'm supposed to do this update. Malwarebytes says I'm supposed to update. Do I update? You say yes. Windows is popping up. Should I update? Yes, please update. Adobe's popping up. Java's popping up. Flash is popping up. Acrobat Reader's popping up. Should I update? And we say yes, please update, because we know there's security holes. Well, then HP pops up and says, hey, should I update? And we say yes, 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 yes all the time. It would just make sense, logically. They would go, well, they would want me to update this. And she did, and it broke. It's been resolved, and it's been fixed, and she felt really bad, and everybody got a kick out of it to a certain point.
I don't blame the customer because they don't know. It really is. It's a tidal wave of crap coming at them, and they all, after a while, all the updates kind of look the same. And which do you click and which don't you? That's our job to know that. They can't keep up with that.
Right. And so she just said, I won't going to do that again, ever again. Which is fine. And I got it resolved and it's been fixed, but it did, it was time, and it's just something that I just don't normally do. It sounds like Al in the chat room says, I hate printers and faxes. So, if it's my own machine, I'll do the update. But if it's a client's machine, and especially if they're 3 hours round trip from me, I'll say no. Let's not update that, because if it breaks, then I got a bit of a drive there, and it all worked out.
If you're being prompted to update something with a printer, that tells me there was probably some companion software running with it, right?
Right.
And so and to me, that's, unless there's something there they absolutely need, rarely do I install that, because it usually just leads to further harassment.
Right. It was one of those I should have used unchecky, because we went through and we just installed everything in a hurry, and I didn't uncheck the HP update and all this other kind of stuff because I was so far away that I gave them the full suite. So that way, in case something happened later on, I need this one app, I'm in a stuck, I'm in a bind, can we remote in and do it? I gave it to them all. That way they had it. It's the same reason when I do Office installs, what I'll usually do is I'll copy all the data from the CD and I'll put it in a folder like installs on the C drive, and then I'll do a full install of what they need. If it's a student machine, at one of the schools, that I know they don't need Outlook, they don't need what's the screenshot tool, and there's all these other kind of things. They don't need access. OneNote, thank you. So I'll uncheck those, but then I'll say do a full install of everything, and then I'll say don't install this, don't install this, don't install that. And that way the student has everything they possibly need, because I'm making an image for a whole bunch of machines, and then I have the installer there in case I need to go back on a one-on-one basis to just add on something. So being that it's so far away, that I just did it all. And what happened happened. I don't know if it really necessarily bit me, because I did have to go down and put a new printer in. But I guess the moral of the story is, if you're gonna, and HP does say, if you're gonna do any kind of firmware updates on their machines, make sure you're doing USB, not network.
Ah, yeah, okay.
And if it's not broke, like you said, for BIOSes, then you probably don't want to update it anyways.
Yeah, it's just kind of the way I feel about it. And installing the printers, if you can't download just the driver, install just the driver. And I'm not beating you up here. I mean, that was just the situation. That's just what happened. And that's why we do what we do. I mean, you're going to have that from time to time. But, it's ideal if when installing a printers, it sure is nice if you can get just the driver. It's not so easy always from HP. I mean, it's like the disk that comes with it. I just frisbee that as far as I can out of their office, and I try and find just now. If I can't get just a driver, well, I download whatever I can get, and then I usually use 7-zip, and I break that dude open, and I find the driver, and then when it's searching for the drivers, I point it to that, and usually you can get away with doing that without having to go through their executable that wants to install all kinds of awful, horrible things.
Right. Yeah.
So, but anyway, good fix.
Thanks.
That sounds like something that really got broken, but it wasn't. It just needed a reset.
But I didn't know how to reset it. I just had to I was one step away from grabbing and just palming the whole control panel so every button was pushed down, and then turning it on and seeing what happened. But I didn't have to. I got lucky. That's all it was.
Yeah, you beat it. You won.
That's right. In your face, HP printer. And then I'm gonna take it outside, and we're gonna do like Office Space.
PC letter. But most people love those HP printers, and you will have trouble getting support for that.
Yeah.
If you chained it to the back of your car and drug it an hour and a half back, I have a feeling you'd have about 100 people following you, cheering.
There's a line.
Yeah.
Wait.
My turn. I'm next.
So I came across a couple news articles, and the reason I brought these up is because there's a couple of things that I've talked about that I use, and we've talked about LastPass as a password password keeper, password. What do you call that? What is LastPass?
Password manager.
Thank you, manager. There's the word I'm looking for. The news broke out this week, and this is from TechCrunch. It says LastPass finds security holes in its online password manager, doesn't think anyone exploited them.
Oh, no.
Well, and then Steve Gibson probably talked about it today on his podcast because he tweeted earlier today saying, just a note, the LastPass issues were addressed 10 months ago. Out of respect for the researchers, LastPass waited for their paper's release. So I think and I don't know if that was saying that he was waiting, what is that? I kind of found that to be an interesting comment. He was out of respect for the researchers and what they had found 10 months ago. LastPass didn't admit that there was a hole. I don't know. I found that odd. Anyways, in LastPass you can use what are called booklets, and booklets are the mobile version of kind of favorites inside of the LastPass manager. It said that only 1%. It says less than 1% of their user base of LastPass uses booklets. There was a way that you could use an exploit within booklets. There was a one-time password feature. And then there was some other stuff that it just kind of goes through a whole bunch of different stuff. But it says they were discovered in August 2013. So it's been almost a year now since these bugs were done, and LastPass has fixed it. So LastPass says this in response to all this, because they did come out and issue a statement after this was released, and they said, if you're concerned that you've used booklets before September 2013 on a non-trustworthy site, you may consider changing your master password and generating new passwords, although we don't think it's necessary. Regarding the OTP attack, which is the one-time password attack, it is a targeted attack requiring an attacker to know the user's username and to potentially exploit it and serve that custom attack per user. Potentially exploit it and serve that custom attack per user activity, which we have not seen. So they wanted to release just a statement saying that if you do use LastPass, it sounds like everything is fine. There's nothing to worry about. The big question that really kind of came out of all of this was, that's nice that LastPass really kind of waited till the research stuff, but why didn't they come out originally and just say it's been fixed? We know these issues. It's been fixed. And so that's something that I mean, I'm a very small fish in a very big pond, and I have zero influence on any kind of technology company at all. But I would prefer that technology companies, when there's a flaw, fixed or not fixed, well, I guess soon as it's fixed, because if it's not fixed, then they're just asking for more trouble. But as soon
Right.
as a flaw is found and it's fixed, to really release it and say, you know what, we messed up. We're going to take credit for this. It's been patched. We don't feel that we knew about it. We went back, we looked at the logs, we researched everything, and we know that everything has come across clean, and we don't know anything about that. So I would just encourage companies to do that. Even if you're a small business owner, you and me, when we make a mistake, we need to just kind of man up and say we made a mistake. Not it's been fixed. I'll worry about it later. But really, just say, you know, we messed up. You know, it's kind of that whole integrity.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if the mechanic works on my brakes and makes a mistake, and the next day catches it and fixes it, I don't want him to wait a year to say, hey, there's not a problem, but there was briefly, but nothing happened, so it's okay, right? Well, I just come out and say, hey, we had this issue, it's been resolved, be aware, FYI, and then, there's nothing's required on your part, but feel free to proceed as necessary. And you're like, oh, okay, it's done. But then a year later, it's kind of like, well, that's just weird.
Yeah.
Why now? What prompted it now?
Right. Do you feel guilty? Was it did a year pass and you finally said, I think the waters have calmed down enough, or is it publicity? I mean, I hate for it to be publicity.
Did a third party break this information, or what? Break the story, or what happened?
I'd have to research it some more.
Yeah. Okay.
And find out, but
well, it seems a bit anticlimactic, but the story here is, that hey, you got to tell us when these things happen.
yeah,
Yeah, don't not like the wizard behind the curtain and everything's okay, right?
yeah, when it's not really. So I don't know, just one of those things. What I wanted to bring LastPass up is because I am a big user of LastPass. I have used it for a long time. I really enjoy it, and I used to use. We'd have to go back and research it. I have to find it. But on a Podnuts episode, I interviewed one of the developers of LastPass and Xmarks. And what Xmarks is, okay, so years ago when I started using LastPass, I also was using Xmarks. They were two completely separate companies. And Xmarks will synchronize. So Xmarks is a third party that will synchronize your bookmarks across multiple platforms on multiple devices, which is nice because you make a change on one, you have them all synced on the other. So that works out well if you're, Nightwise talks about, oh my gosh, it's gone, cross-platform geeks. So you're maybe on a Windows, a Windows box at work, but then you use Apple and Linux at home, and you can go across between all of them, and all your bookmarks get saved, which is great.
Sure.
So LastPass bought Xmarks. And I hope it's getting better. I haven't used it yet, but this site from Make Use Of is the complete guide to simplifying and securing your life with LastPass and Xmarks. So it goes through the whole process of using Xmarks, what it does, what is it, how to do it, and I need to probably start it again. There was a long time that I used it for quite a while, and the problem I was running into is that it wouldn't synchronize, or when it synchronized, it would overwrite everything. So then I have to stop, go back, because it does have a history. I'd go back in my history, clear everything out, re-import back from history. So I always had this. They were always in conflict. So I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot again, and just try it and see how it works. So there is one thing though that. I'll have to research that. I don't want to say that. I'll bring it up next show. But so stay tuned for a possible giveaway. But check this out: if you are cross-platform, if you're using multiple applications, if you're using multiple systems, even multiple browsers, this will simplify your passwords, and you can set work passwords and home passwords, groups essentially, so you can differentiate between the two within Xmarks itself. So thought I would bring that up.
That's a good addition to them. I mean, with LastPass, it's a password manager, but actually having companion software from them that then goes ahead and syncs up all that everything else from your browser, bookmarks and whatnot. That was a pretty clever move.
Yeah, and I remember
Yeah.
when I spoke to the developer, I asked him about X marks, and he goes, "Well, I said, is this you're doing a lot to increase X marks, or I mean, excuse me, a lot to increase last pass on mobile, and you're moving all around. It's growing in popularity, and you're putting a lot of effort into it." I said, "How are you guys doing on X marks?" And he goes, "Well, I don't know." And so I don't, maybe it's getting better. Maybe they've put more man hours into X marks. I'm going to give it another shot again just to see, because
Yeah.
I do have, I have Firefox and Chrome on this here. I've got Chrome on my phone, and I'm going to give it a shot.
We want a full report.
I will give you a full report.
All right.
The last one I wanted to bring up, and I just saw this today, and this is from Code 42. Code 42 is the parent company for CrashPlan, and CrashPlan is the backup offsite cloud-based storage that I really, really enjoy. I use them. They're a great product. MIT today selected them as their it says Code 42, the leader in endpoint data protection and management, today announced that Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a premier institution of higher learning for sciences, engineering, and technology, selected CrashPlan for Enterprise to protect and manage the university's end user data. So MIT is going with CrashPlan.
Interesting.
If that's not like the giant, not just a feather, but like the whole eagle in somebody's hat, that MIT actually selects them to do their endpoint backup, that's a big plus in CrashPlan's, that's a big notch in their belt.
Yeah, you'd think so. That's pretty good. That's something to brag about.
Yeah. So I'll throw that in. I wanted to throw that in there. It's not a huge news story other than the fact that it's big for MIT. It's big for CrashPlan, but I like CrashPlan. I use them. I use them a lot and really like them. Back to the Xmark syncs, Al in the chat room says that I must turn off bookmark sync in Chrome for it to stop it overwrites. So that may be the problem, is that you have to let Xmarks, if you're going to use Xmarks, it has to be the syncing tool. You can't have Firefox bookmark sync and Chrome bookmark sync. And I may have had the Chrome bookmark sync turned on because I wanted to protect it twice, and that may have just been thrashing the whole thing. So thanks, Al. I will definitely try it again and turn that off, because I know that I have Chrome sync on right now, because when I reload my computer, I can just log in and all my bookmarks come down. So I'm gonna have to turn that off.
That's a good point. Because I also have my Firefox set up to sync between computers and devices, and it's always been very good. But that's a good point. You may disabling is probably the trick to getting third-party app working properly.
Right, and I didn't mention the price of it. The Xmarks will do so you get free bookmark. It's free, but I think there's a $12 a year plan that you get LastPass and Xmarks, the premium edition. But anyways, Xmarks works on the iPhone, Android, Windows, Dolphin, BlackBerry, if you got a BlackBerry, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So yeah, that's what Al says. It kept overwriting for me until I changed it, and that's what to do. Okay, that's my problem. I will turn it off, and then I will do it again. Ice cream truck's here.
Nah.
The window's closed, but I hear it. So we're it's summertime, and when Geeksters is on, and the ice cream truck rolls around. It's like old times.
Cool.
So that's what we've that's what I got today.
Yeah, I got one more thing I want to throw out.
Yeah, please.
This doesn't affect too many of our listeners, but there was an iOS version of Ingress released yesterday. Now, this is something they've been threatening to do forever. Finally did it. If you play, just be aware that it's available. If you don't, you have an iOS device, try it out. All I'll say is that it is finally out, and if you do choose to take a look at the game, I'd recommend choosing the Resistance. Of course, the Enlightened, you would not want to do that. But the game is simple enough that you can kind of tinker around with it. It does require you to leave the house, get out and about, and if it's easy enough that you can kind of play a little bit, enjoy yourself. there are enough nuances of it though in strategy that you could play it forever and never really get um, never really kind of get to the end of it, how to be the best strategy. But if you have any trouble, wherever you are in the world, there's probably a G plus group in your community that's doing this, and I'd recommend. You could send me questions, but definitely join your G plus community. It's a wonderful game. It's fantastic. You get out, you meet fantastic people, and you learn things about your community that you would never ever know or see. It's the things that I have gotten out of this game, I could never have possibly predicted. So it's made me a much better member of my community, much more aware of its history, and I have friends for life. So
A closer relationship with your local police department?
oh, not just the local one. I mean, I've got new friends in local law enforcement all over the place. So I don't think that's kind of the more that's more the seemlier side of a thing. It's ingress doesn't close. It's open 24 hours a day, and sometimes the authorities don't think that you should be in certain places of town stopped at certain times of day. And I'm just kind of a simple rube. I never I don't think anything about all that. So anyway, let's not go that route. But I did want to mention that they've been threatening to do it forever. They finally did it yesterday. It's out. So FYI.
Well, I've never. That was one of the first things I looked at when I got my new Android was Ingress, and I was like, I don't know. I know that if I start, that's all I'm gonna do. I'll never
So don't start.
That's right. So that's why I haven't started yet. I do some geocaching, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's enough. That's kind of like ingressing, but not. But I have Google Maps. But I have Google History to tell me where I've been. So.
Right. Well, anyway. Just wanted to mention that. Plus, I want Fred to come back on here and yell at me. So, Fred, Ingress, get out there, Fred, and Ingress some more. And if Fred doesn't come back on the show soon, I'm going to do like a whole episode of just Ingress, just to make him mad.
And call everybody Fred.
Everybody's Fred.
Everybody's Fred. Well, Tim, if people want to get a hold of you about ingressing questions, how can they do that?
Anything. Yeah, buddy. I'm Tim Bauermeister on the G+. You can also search on the G+ for Agent N like Tim. You'll find me. And those are both linked to the same account. But that's the easiest, best way to get me is the G+. And that's what I would do. That's what I would do. That's where you'll find me.
Well, you had a false G+ name?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. It's no. It is Tim Bauermeister. However, I think it was maybe 9-12 months ago. Google Plus offered the option of adding a quote unquote nickname or something to your account, and so you can search for either, and they will lead you both to the same account, which is me.
Oh, because Google Plus today just allowed you to not use your real name. So I thought maybe you had two accounts.
No, nothing like that.
Tim and then the real Tim.
Oh, let's not confuse them.
Okay, not confused. If people want to get a hold of me directly, they can call. Well, they can't call, but they can email me, martin@obandocomputing.com. I'm Maskil in the chat. I'm Obando. You can look for Obando in the Google Plus. Any one of those two, you'll find me somewhere. If you just want to email everybody, the whole Geeksters crew, the staff, everybody behind the scene, our support staff, our makeup, our caterer, our the other people who do things that I don't even know what their names, like the guys who hold the sound. What are those? The gaffers?
Oh, the gaffers. There's a boom operator here somewhere.
Yeah. So if you want to email any of them, you can email us all at the same. It's geeksters@podnuts.com.
Yeah.
If you want to send our makeup person, somebody who combs out my beard, a voicemail, 707-6 Podnut, 707-6 Podnut. You probably won't answer, but it's worth a shot.
Or the primate that picks the nits out of mine.
There we go. Today I'm thinking I'm just about ready to shave this thing off.
I'm getting close, buddy. I'm getting close.
I think my wife would freak, but I'm just about done. So, anyways, are you that or just take it way down? It's getting a little. I talk and I end up hitting it with my mic.
I mean, it's getting to the point. It has to come off, or I'm gonna have to braid it because it's it's unmanageable at this point.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
guys and gals, everybody in the chat, thanks for coming and hanging out with us. Thanks for watching us live. Thanks for the downloads and the upvotes and the podcasts and the retweets and all that kind of stuff. Guys, have a great fiscal week, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye, guys. And stop Audacity. We went an hour and 22.
That's what I'm saying.
That's a good. We just kept talking and talking and having a good time.
Yeah. Always do. Is this 124?
It is 124.
All right.
So we do all that. We talk, and then all of a sudden, at the very end, we just all quiet, like just saving everything. Okay, now that we're doing that, hey Aussie, how's it going? It sounds like he's. He, she. I apologize. The person in the chat room named Aussie said this was his first time coming on, being able to catch it live. So, and I know I have a friend who lives up here, but she is trying to get back to Australia. She lives in Sydney when she's down there, and she's always traveled. She's always been there for the summer and here for the winter, or our summer. And so there was a couple years where every time she traveled, it was winter. And so because Aussie's saying that they are very cold. I have to go. It's cold and rainy in Sydney today. He didn't give me a temperature. Oh wait, 10 degrees here. I don't know if that's Celsius or Fahrenheit, and he says he only works above 20 degrees. So Highlander says it was 35 degrees Celsius there, and I'm assuming Highlander lives somewhere not in America or not in the U.S. Didn't mean America, but because of the Celsius conversion. And I think what's 35? I don't know what 35 is.
35 is nice. No, and Highlander, I'm almost certain is somewhere near or the East Coast than the West.
35 is 95.
Yeah.
So Highlander, I am also at 35. Well, I'm at 91 here, so whatever that is. Maybe, what is that? Probably not 35. But yeah, it's 91 here today. We had a thunderstorm this weekend. I'm a huge fan.
Man.
The summer thunderstorms. I had a picture. If you go to my Google Plus, you'll see last Friday I was in Southern Oregon, and I grew up in Southern Oregon, and it always had just the most spectacular summer thunderstorms. The problem is that it would create lightning, and lightning would cause forest fires, and anyways. But I walked out of the store, and it was just these huge rolling clouds, and they were just black, and it was just this huge contrast. It was very cool looking. I posted on Google Plus, and a lot of people said that looks like tornado weather. And sure enough, with no tornadoes, but man, then lightning and the rain just started coming down. Then I got behind a bark dust truck without a tarp on the back of it. So now it's raining, and I'm getting covered. My car's getting covered in red bark dust, and it's just sticking to my car.
Oh my!
So then I was able to get around that one, and I got behind a semi that helped wash it all off, and then I went around the semi, and that was good to go. But it was good. It was a good trip. That was the trip to go pick up my kids.
Ah, I see.
So that was, I left at 3 a.m. Friday morning. It's about a 6-hour drive. So at 3 a.m. Friday morning, I had a 9:30 appointment at a location there. A 9:30 appointment, and then appointment after that, and the appointment after that, and then I took about an hour and a half nap with my kids. When I was there with the kids, and then I left. We met my mother in Southern Oregon for dinner about 6:30. Left there about 8:30, and we rolled into home about 12:30. So I left at 3 a.m. and I got back home about 12:30, and I did 680 miles, something like that.
Ah, you're a machine.
Oh man, I was like, I don't want to get in the car again. I'm tired.
Yeah.
Tired.
All right, buddy, I'm gonna roll. I got to take off, but thanks, chat. as always, love you guys. Thanks for coming out, and thanks for the downloads and everything. When you can't be here, but when you are here, it's just fantastic. So I really appreciate you guys greatly. I appreciate you, Martin, and Mitch. Good luck, buddy. When you come back, it'll be great. Missing you
Yeah,
today.
yeah. Mitch, if you got get new carpet, get that 1970s big shag carpet.
Oh, shag pile.
Yeah, you'd be like, hey,
Cool.
all
All
right.
right, I'm gonna roll.
See
See
ya.
ya, pal.
Bye.